Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I guess you can call it a podcast. You guys, we are here today to unpack episode 851 of the Joe Budden podcast. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We would love to have you be part of the beautiful people family. Like the video, it helps to push it out to other people, which is what we're trying. Subscribe. I think I said that already, but I mean it. Like, it's literally just a click of a button and not a big deal to you, huge deal to me, and we're trying to reach a goal. So let's talk about this pod. Even though it doesn't come out till tomorrow, I don't care. I'm gonna put my shit out today because everybody else do. So boom, let's get going. All right, let's start off with saying the good doctor is back. Yay! Didn't we miss him? We missed the good doctor. He has been gone out to Martha's Vineyard on vacation and he is finally back. However, I am disappointed. I am very disappointed in some of his takes. I am very disappointed in his potting today. It seemed a little forced and a little disingenuous, and we'll get there. We'll talk about it. But yay, he's back nonetheless. Um, so they start off with a bunch of nothing. You know how they normally do. Let's get to the real stuff. All right, so you guys know that to start off the pod, it's usually some intro music. And today, Joe did booty music. He did booty girl music. He's like, I'm such a bird because he was really enjoying it. He was pretty much the only one that was enjoying it. So it was a little disheartening that they all was just sitting there. I mean, they bobbed their head a little bit, and it wasn't even bob your head music. It was kind of you gotta move type music. And of course, Mel did nothing, but whatever. But the thing is, with Joe being a DJ, or he does some DJing, you can tell that he just loves music and he's in his element and he just loves it. Like, the smile on his face is just so genuine, and I love a genuine smile, you guys. That just gets me every time. I don't care who it is. A genuine smile is just like so from the heart. And he smiled the entire time he was playing that music. And I got my life. I was literally smiling with him, which normally we don't do with Joe because we know Joe's an asshole. He's an ass. But we start off with, I mean, besides, the booty music and the little bit, let's talk about the good doctor going to Martha's Vineyard. And we find out that, I guess he planned it like a week in advance only, so he had to pay a lot of money. He had to fly, and this little plane that they were only on for 30 minutes, his son was a terror. And everybody around there was like, yeah, your son is so bad. He's bad as shit. Your son is so bad, so bad. And yeah, Mark was just like, he did a lot, and it was a lot. And he said that was the worst thing. That ride was the worst thing to happen on the trip. And he had a friend that passed. And, we sent our condolences to him for his friend that passed. But God, that's got to be bad. If that was the worst thing and you had a friend that passed, and the son's behavior was even worse than that. But anyway, we move. So apparently they're at dinner. It's like 2 something in the morning. They're, a little tipsy, and they see, I think he said somebody who started the Me Too movement. Don't know her name, but she came over. They're speaking. And then apparently another woman walks over and confronts Mark like, hey, I'm a lawyer and I'm sitting with a bunch of lawyers. And he made sure to let us know that they were very bougie here. And he's like, and I'm not bougie. I'm not like that. And everybody's like, because he is. He is. There's a certain kind of bougie that he's a little classist a little bit, but, he does it in a cool way. Joe is just very blatant about his. But, yeah, so he's saying that, she said, I'm sitting with a bunch of other lawyers, and we just want to ask you what you're doing on the podcast with Joe Budden. And so, of course, everybody up there was a little irritated with that. He was saying how his wife wanted to answer, and Mel was like, yeah, bitch. And he said, yeah, that's exactly where my wife was going to go. But, I calmed him down, and I was just like, it's all good. So I think he said something about, something like it's nothing like you would think up there and about him reaching so many other different people, because Joe and them were like, did you have our back or anything? And he said, yeah, I did. However, I didn't want to really get into it a lot with her because I don't want her to feel like it's okay to pretty much just roll up on me at 2 something in the morning and, say this to me. So he said he answered her and he turned his back and she still stood there. Like 2 minutes later, he had to turn around and pretty much ignore her a second time before she finally moved away. You guys, I'm not going to go blow by blow with everything that they spoke about, but I'm just going to tell you guys stuff that I picked up on. Like the fact that Parks was getting his shit off to Joe. Did y'all hear him checking Joe? Did y'all hear him screaming at Joe? Oh, Parks didn't like that little comment that Joe made about him being late. Even though he said, oh, well, Parks has a good reason. He's coming from another state. But if you looked at Parks's face, he was pissed off. And that is what his wife was talking about on Power Wives. Parks cannot take constructive criticism. Parks does not like for you to disagree with him. Parks do not like for you to really clown him or anything. He's like Ice, but he just does it in a more condescending, passive aggressive type of way, and he's quick witted. So he'll come with, some funny shit, but he's letting you have it. So he's different than Ice, but kind of the same, which is probably why they're able to hang out together. One other thing that stood out was Dr. Mark. Now suddenly, number one, last episode, Patreon episode, Melissa saying that he's in her trusted circle. And I'm like, didn't he just clown you? Like, wasn't there just a 10-minute video where he was letting you have it, letting you know that, okay, although I've been knowing you for years, I am now really, really learning some shit about you and I don't like it and I don't see it. And yeah, so now all of a sudden, it's like they had this phone call. Mel is always talking about this phone call. I tried to call you. She's always trying to call people outside of the pod to be like, calm down on me. And I think it's finally gotten to him because he has changed his whole view. And I know he hates the word pander, but this whole episode just seemed like he was pandering to Mel, and he was trying to side with Mel on absolutely everything. And there was a time in the pod where he asked her if she feels like it's a safe space because it didn't look very safe. And Mel tries to play into it and she tries to play it up and she's doing the face and the eyes like, oh my god, I'm just so unsafe here. And you are it's an unsafe space for all of y'all. None of you all can be trusted with each other's secrets or anything personal, or like y'all don't fuck with each other really. So no, it's not a safe space really, and it's not just for you. They dogpile on everyone, so I don't want to just hear the whole dogpiling on Melissa thing. But anyway, I just don't like the fact that it seemed like Mark wasn't being himself, and he was more so trying to be on her side just so that she can have someone there on her side. And I don't like that, because if Mel is going to be there and they said she wants to be the only woman, I want no woman. You already know that. At least one time in the video, I got to say that. But yeah, I just feel like you got to be able to take it, sis. You got to be able to take it, or you got to go. And she does have to go, and I'll tell you why, because she's a liar. Mel is a huge liar. She has been caught in so many different lies, you guys. And this time, they actually did the rewind. This was the first time we have ever seen them do a live rewind. And we'll get there. I'll tell you why. They start speaking about David Justice. Is that his name? I think so. Ex-baseball player, I think, that was married to Halle Berry. And, apparently he just did this interview and he's speaking about Halle, and he's saying that, she wasn't very domestic, basically. She didn't like to clean and cook, and he didn't feel like she was motherly. So he didn't feel like she would be a good mother to his children. So, of course, there's this whole battle up there about that. But before we get to that, we have to talk about Dr. Mark Lamont says, yeah, and I know that he had these, she had a restraining order against him. And Mel is like, yeah, she did. She really did. And he's like, I think for domestic abuse or something like that, or abuse. And he's like, but I'm not sure. And Mel is like, no, yeah, she did. And so Joe stops her, and Joe is like, well, hold on. Was it restraining order or the domestic abuse part that's right. And she said both. Both. And she spoke about how it really messed with her head and she was suicidal and all of this or whatever. You know, Mel speaks very aggressively. So she speaks like she's telling the truth or like everything that she's saying is fact and it's always a lie. So she's going on this whole tangent and they're like, well, where did she say this at? And she's like, countless magazines and on Oprah. She said it on Oprah. Then a little bit later we find out no, he didn't. He wasn't the one. Somebody else, and I'll just say it was allegedly Wesley Snipes that was the one that beat her so bad that I think she lost hearing on one side, or she almost lost hearing on one side. Allegedly, again, but it was Wesley Snipes. It was not him. But he said he's speaking out because he wants to let people know that it wasn't him, because a lot of people did think that it was him. And I'm not gonna lie, as soon as the interview, they started talking about the interview, I'm like, why is he talking when he was the one that beat her? But it didn't click to me until they started speaking about it that, yeah, it was Wesley Snipes. So they do this whole rewind because that's not what she said. Because it's just like, hold on, Mel's a liar. Him and Flip was like, that's not what you just said, Mel. You just said, because she's like, no, I knew it wasn't him. I knew it wasn't David Just. I knew it wasn't. And they're like, that's not what you just said. You just said that it was him. And it's just like, pause it. And then they pause it and do this rewind. And it's in black and white. And they go back to Mel saying, yes, both. He did both or whatever. And he said it on Oprah, or she said it on Oprah. And yeah, and then they came back and they just let it go. They just let it go. Like, people in the comments were furious, as we should be, because why is she on the pod and she don't know facts? Like, she don't. Mel says a lot of shit that's wrong, and they call her out on it. And then she says it as a, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's a fact. No, you can't. Yeah, you can. And she's always wrong. She is 9 times out of 10 always wrong. Why is she here, Ike? If she can't keep up, number one, she can't speak. She can't speak. Even though I'm fumbling right now, that's all she does. But I'm not going to do this whole Mel thing. I'm not going to make it about Mel. She sucks. That's it, period. The whole Halle Berry thing, she was also wrong in stating that she's a good mom, because somebody in the comments reminded us that Halle Berry is paying child support because she doesn't even have custody of a couple of her kids. So, good mom, how did they get custody? I don't know. And I mean, I'm not saying that good moms don't lose custody, but I don't think I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say I don't think she gives a shit. He just may have been right. You know what I mean? So there's that. And they stayed on this subject for a very long time. A very, very long. Too long. As long as longer than I am. And I'm ready to move on. So we move. All right, we move to Tachina Arnold, but we're going to call her Pam, which is what they kept calling her, even though it's Tachina Arnold, from Martin. And basically this is a leftover or a redo of something they already spoke about, which drives me crazy. It's like they talk about stuff when Mark isn't there, and then they want to speak about it again to get his opinion. But I also think that she doubled down on it. So I think there was a little bit of an update. But we already spoke about Ari Lennox, or they did. Ari Lennox, and the fact that she wasn't really feeling Martin because she felt like he was colorist, and she felt like he was really rude to Pam and wasn't to Gina. And, mostly everybody on there was like, no, he was rude to everybody. So Mark comes back and he's like, yeah, I watched it and I just don't agree with you guys. And like, he really, really, really was just kind of taking a different stance for me. I mean, that may be the way he really feels, but I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't agree with him. So he was saying that because Martin called her Beady Bead, that was kind of a colorist sort of thing, because you don't call light-skinned people Beady Bead. Like, that kind of goes hand in hand with dark-skinned people and yada yada. You guys, I am a chocolate woman, and I had no problem with him calling her Beady Bead absolutely none whatsoever. Like, I had no problem. He talked about Gina's head, as Ice and them said. I just don't understand why it was a big deal. It never even occurred to me that, oh my God, he's only clowning Pam because she's chocolate. To me, the people who see that, and it's unfortunate, this whole colorism thing and the colorist shit, it's so embedded in our community, you guys, and it's so sad for a lot of chocolate women that they just automatically go to that. If somebody doesn't like them, oh my God, it's because I'm chocolate. Oh my God, like, I've just never been that way. I never have, and I've said it a billion times on this channel that I just grew up liking the skin that I'm in. Like, I had a cousin that would tell me, black is beautiful. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. You better be proud of your chocolate skin. And I always was from the time that I was little. And yes, I had people that would call me like darky and like all kind of stuff. Black, like, it just didn't bother me. My mom used to call me little chocolate girl. No, little black girl. But she would say it in a loving way. Oh, pass me that phone, little black girl. Oh, you better stop getting on my nerves, you little black girl. And then I had a really, really light-skinned sister that she would call little yellow girl. And it was in a loving type of way, though. You know what I mean? Which kind of goes back to the same thing with Pam and Martin. They would go at each other and kind of play the dozens, as the older people say. They would, go at each other in a loving way. Like, that was their friendship. And my daughter's father, his best friend was with my best friend, and when we would go out on double dates, that was the type of relationship I had with him. He was shorter, and I would say stuff to him like, did you get your work clothes from Baby Gap? And we have your car seat ready. And I would say stuff like, use your elfin magic. Yeah, that was a good one. And I had long hair, and he would say stuff about, there's a horse that doesn't have their hair. Like, he would always make jokes as if my hair was weave. It's not, but that was his joke. And that was just the way that we got along. That was the way, and we cracked each other up, and we low key cared about each other. That, we were friends, and that was just the way that we did. So I just want them to let it go. I do think Ari Lennox is battling some of her own childhood traumas with being chocolate or something. I don't know. I hate that for her, but I really do think that's what it is. So, yeah, they stayed on it for a little bit, and I just don't want to. Like, that's it. I didn't have a problem with it. I'm speaking as a chocolate woman. Can't speak for all chocolate women, but for me, it's fine. So we move. And again, we just don't understand why it's something that's coming up all these years later. Why are we speaking about Martin? Because she didn't watch it when it was out, so now she's rewatching. We don't care. We don't care. So, Flip tells this story about Terrence J. It's a wild story. Him and the people from, God, I don't know these guys, the Bitcoin guys that have been on here. I didn't really care for them, or at least one of them I didn't really care for. But apparently he saw them out with Terrence J. Terrence J kind of played Flip off and was just like, come on, we gotta go, we gotta go. Then I guess when he got in the car with them, they told him who he was. And Terrence J friended him on, I guess, Instagram, and then DM'd him like, listen, I'm sorry I didn't know who you were. Can you go ahead and meet us at this place and have a drink? The guys were laughing because Flip doesn't drink. The moral of that story for Flip was he was up there on the last Patreon having a fit because they were saying that, Joe Budden kind of blew him up a little bit. And he was saying, no, I've been Queen's Flip. People have been knowing who I am. And basically he was like, Terrence J didn't know who I was. But once he found out I was on the pod, he, showed me all this respect and was taking me out to dinner and all this. So, I could be a little bit wrong. So that was cool of him. And then the craziest question came from the good doctor. He's like, let me ask you, do you have this? And then Park says inferiority complex. And Mark says, well, yeah, but I wasn't going to say it like that. He was just like, do you have this insecurity of people kind of making you feel less than? And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me right now, good doctor? Because that is what you do. That is what you all do up there all day long y'all clown him as if he's stupid. Like they have really made him the butt of all the jokes. They talk about how he's stupid. They talk about how he's fat, and they're all fat. They're all fat except Dr. Mark and Parks. So how y'all all clowning this man and y'all all chubby? Like seriously. But yeah, they really made him the butt of the jokes, and it was a really crazy question coming from Dr. Mark. But let's talk about Parks and his behavior towards Joe. So they end up talking about the movie Weapons, which I keep hearing is really good. I don't do scary movies, so I will not be seeing it. But as they're talking about it, Mel is doing her thing where she's over talking, of course. So they're talking about the movie Weapons. And again, Joe didn't go. So he gets up, he goes to the kitchen, and he's like, so Parks is like, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I'm not you. And I was like, damn, Joe didn't say anything. And then he's in the kitchen and they're talking about it and they're making jokes and they're laughing. So from the kitchen, he's screaming, yeah, at some point, can y'all review the movie? And I'm sure they weren't really reviewing the movie because he hasn't seen it. So, Flip is looking like, what the fuck? But they end up saying, so Park says, we're getting to it, Joe. Damn. I said, oh, I have never heard Parks that loud ever. I have never ever heard him that loud. And look at what he said. Like, he's really going in on Joe. Then, as one of them is telling the story, Mel is speaking over them or whatever. And so, Joe from the kitchen again is like, Mel, don't talk over people and ruin their review. And she shuts up. And again, she plays it up for the camera where she just looks down and she's like, oh my God, like she's so, like she's getting disciplined. And Parks is just like, you're the one ruining it. I was just like, damn, Parks really did not like what he said in the last episode, you guys. Again, Parks don't like constructive criticism. Can't say nothing bad about Parks. So just imagine how he acts in that house. Allegedly. And I'm not the one that alleged. His wife said that. His wife said he is a son of a bitch when he is upset. All right, to my knowledge, I am done. I think that's kind of it. They spoke about some more stuff because apparently I still have like maybe an hour and 13 minutes or so to go that I am not going to watch again. So those are just the things that I wanted to point out. Nothing else big really happened. Or at least I don't think so. If so, I'll put it in the next episode. But if you are still here, you are the real MVP. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Please consider subscribing. We would love to have you be part of the Beautiful People family. Again, it is nothing but a click of a button for you, and it means the world to me. So we are trying to reach a goal. Let's help get us there. And I will see you guys in the next video. Smooches.